All right, it's 9 o'clock. Um, Heather, if you want to call the meeting to order, and then as requested, we'll let CDOT staff from Denver give the legislative update first as they've requested, and then we'll go into the rest of the meeting.
Perfect. It is February 12th at 9 o'clock a.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. Shaq or Sarah, if you don't mind calling the items on the agenda.
Sure. We'll step right into the legislative update.
Hi, all. Thanks so much for having me. Emily Hadaway, Legislative Liaison for CDOT here, and appreciate getting the opportunity to go first on the agenda so we can, so Hannah and I can head to the Capitol and move on with the whatever today throws at us with the state legislature. We're a few weeks into the state legislative session. There's been some updates in the last few weeks. There's also been a significant amount of bills that have dropped that we're tracking. I'm hoping everyone has access to our legislative report that we put out last week that gets sent to STAC every week. And then we'll put out a new one on Friday as well. So that's a weekly report that we do with the exception of Transportation Commission weeks, because I give a verbal update that week. Just very quickly on a few different bills, the CDOT Transportation Statutory Cleanup Bill has passed its first committee as of yesterday. That's HB 26-1076. That is a bill that is being driven by the agency and just has a variety of different statutory revisions that increase clarity. Maybe there's things that we've been putting off for a while that just are in the wrong part of statute or become obsolete, or things that were misdrafted. So that's a helpful, efficient package that is moving through the legislature. We're also supporting a bill called HB 26-1127, which is called Reporting After Fatal Car Crash, which requires county coroners to report toxicology data related to fatal car crashes on a quarterly basis to CDOT, which is information that we report to NHTSA. So that is information that most counties are already reporting. It just makes sense to set a regular cadence. We'll be working on a new portal for that. And also there's not currently a statutory mandate on a state level. So I think that's a helpful bill. And then there's a few other bills that we'll start weighing in on soon. We're planning to take an amend position on a bill that would allow municipalities to install speed cameras on the interstate. So that's one we're working through right now and looking at possible amendments. That's HB 26-1071. And I think those are the big ones I wanted to flag. The other update as of last week, which is kind of some unfortunate news, came out of CDOT's figure setting. So that is basically when the Joint Budget Committee meets annually to make decisions around the transportation budget. We didn't present any budget cuts this year because, if you recall, last year there were a significant number of budget cuts that were made to transportation as a whole. Our only decision item in front of the Joint Budget Committee was around spending authority for the Multimodal Options Fund, as that had lapsed and we had lost access to some existing funding that we couldn't utilize. Unfortunately, though, there was a push from JBC members to find additional cuts, and what was kind of the low-hanging fruit in their eyes was the Multimodal Options Fund general fund transfer. I think a lot of us kind of had a sense that would be the transfer that would be most appealing to them, because general fund is the flexible source of revenue that the JBC members have that they can direct anywhere. Most of CDOT's budget and transportation's, your transportation budgets as well, are fees that are dedicated for a specific purpose, but general fund is flexible and can be reallocated. And so that $10.5 million transfer is that makes up about half of the Multimodal Options Fund annual transfers. So the other half is from retail delivery fee revenue. So the JBC voted to eliminate that $10.5 million transfer, and it's unclear yet if that is going to be a permanent cut or if it's just an annual cut. Or sorry, just a 1 year cut. That's going to be a decision that I think will be made in the coming weeks. So next steps is we're waiting to see what that legislation looks like once the Joint Budget Committee drafts that up. But what it'll probably consist of is the first part, which would be eliminating the annual general fund transfer or eliminating it for 1 year or maybe a few years. So that'll depending on what happens as far as that action will change our approach as far as next steps for reconciliation. And then the JBC also wanted to keep the busting program whole as far as the funding that is received from that fund. So basically what that means is currently both of those sources of funding, the retail delivery fee and the general fund transfer, are split on a 15 to 85% allocation. So CDOT receives 15% for busting, and then the other 85% goes to local projects. They will probably adjust that allocation. I'm not sure if it'll be 20%, 80%, or what that will look like, but their intention was that they wanted to not cut busting, but they did want to eliminate the general fund transfer. So a lot of unknowns. It wasn't the best news on Friday, and so I'm sorry to have to bring that to you guys. I know it was already a pretty tough year figuring out how to adjust from the sweep last year and the general fund cut, the cuts to multimodal funds last year. So if you do want to reach out to your legislators or reach out to the Joint Budget Committee, that's definitely within your right to do so, to speak to them about, the impacts that might be caused to projects. We did send a letter on behalf of STAC to the Joint Budget Committee ahead of our figure setting, urging them to keep the $10.5 million annual general fund transfer in place, but unfortunately it didn't end up swaying the committee. So a lot of unknowns, a lot of next steps to figure out, but I know that all of DTD is ready to support to figure out, what this looks like. And I saw Michael just hopped on as well. So happy to answer any questions on that, but sorry to be the bearer of bad news on that front. Any questions I can answer? Oh, yeah.
Emily, would you be willing to share the letter that Stack sent?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Maybe this is a question for Michael. It's a little bit more operational, or maybe Tim, but we have Durango has an MMOF grant that's for multiple operating years. Are awarded projects safe from the cuts, or is it like unspent funding on the table eligible for being pulled back?
Was that one you want to take? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm not sure I totally understand the question. But I mean, as you know, the TPR has awarded its future projected allocations out through FY29, and so those years their actual funds may reduce. So we don't know yet, because we just don't know the scale and the nature of what will be put forth yet. But some type of adjustments will likely need to be made, and we need to figure out what it means for the existing projects. Can't really say very much more now because it's so new. It's news to us. So.
Yeah, sorry, Sarah.
It's okay. And I did have one other question, Emily. If you have any information about the proposed transit access bill that I think was still seeking a sponsor, it had been proposed, and I was just wondering if there's an update on the status of that one.
is that like the one that was originally transit equity and then became, transit access? Yeah. That one, I checked in with Rep. Joseph, I think last week to ask her if she's still planning to bring the bill forward, and she said she is, and that it hasn't changed since the last iteration. And deadlines are coming up pretty quickly, so I think that will likely get introduced in the coming weeks. But beyond that, I haven't heard much, but I do know that CASTA has continued concerns, especially just given tight budget environments and kind of, any legislation that puts an unfunded mandate means that there might have to be other cuts somewhere else. So I think that's one we'll continue to monitor, maybe not as closely as we would have before they removed busing from their requirements, but we do want to be supportive of our local transit partners however we can.
Thank you. Any other questions for Emily? If you guys are okay with it, we'll go ahead and stay with our legislative updates, and Lisa Poole is here in the room. And then Amy is online, okay.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Poole. I'm the Southwest Regional Director for Senator Hickenlooper based in Durango. So I think many of you are aware that the build grants, the applications are due very soon on February 24th. So want to encourage anyone who's applying for a build grant to fill out a request form for a letter of support from our office. Or you can reach out to me, but it's just right on our website. Go to grants and then request a letter of support. The build grant program is really if you just think about like the overall intent of that program, because a few different grant programs rolled into the build program, including the raise grants. But it's really for entities to pursue multimodal and multi-jurisdictional projects that are just more difficult to fund through other grant programs. But then again, we do see some, like raise type applications getting funded. The current administration did fund a project in Paonia for FY25. So just wanted to give you an example of what was funded in this region. I mean, it's kind of Paonia is still far, but they got their Safe Pathways for Paonia project, and that was to reconstruct a major intersection in Paonia, the Fifth Street and Grand Avenue, if you've ever been to Paonia. So that's like kind of like a heavy pedestrian and like kids, trying to get to school, walk to school, stuff like that. So they got nearly $2 million for that project. And then Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program, that one we're expecting to see a NOFO come out soon for FY26. This could be the final year for this grant program, but who knows, it could very well be extended in the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill. There have been lots of great projects funded through this grant program in the past few years, and this was funded through the bipartisan infrastructure law for 5 years. So yeah, City of Durango got one right, and City of Cortez, and the Upper Pine River Fire Protection District, if I remember correctly. In terms of DOT grant rescissions, so last week the Trump administration announced rescissions of $1.5 billion in CDC and DOT grants in Colorado, California, Minnesota, and Illinois. So those 4 states are being targeted. And it was due to waste and mismanagement of funds, according to what was leaked through the New York Post. So I'm sure CDOT will be like, no, that's not happening. Colorado, so according to this New York Post, article or, statement that was released there, Colorado will see a loss of about $6.9 million in CDC grants and then $4.9 million in DOT grants. But you know, they haven't officially verified which projects or anything like that. I mean, I know CDOT is like, kind of has some suspicions about which ones are under review. But I'm not gonna name those off because that's like definitely not, we don't know yet. And then for, you know, so for the surface transportation, reauthorization that's happening, committees in the Senate are still really trying to evaluate the path forward on this. Especially for extending, you know, the key surface transportation programs from the bipartisan infrastructure law. So think rail, highways, bridges, passenger safety. So there's a few different committees that have different angles on this. And so the Committee on Banking, Housing and Urban Development, they're really focused on the Federal Transit Administration and public transit programs. The Senate Committee on Finance and the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works oversee the Highway Trust Fund. And some of you may be reading about that, how the Highway Trust Fund could be no longer solvent come 2028. So that's like a big deal that no one seems to be really people are talking about it, but in terms, we need to like actually get to problem solving for that. Then, so Senator Hickenlooper sits on the Commerce, Science and Transportation Committee. He doesn't sit on the other ones that I just listed off. And the angle that like the piece of this reauthorization bill that his committee has, which oversees like aviation and passenger safety and certain highway modernization programs. They recently held a committee hearing about autonomous vehicles and how we should be, how that should be included in the reauthorization bill in terms of like what policies need to be related to these new autonomous vehicles, which I'm like, oh my God, the future is now. Crazy. So yeah, lots of chatter and like, we're really hoping that something will coalesce very soon as we need it to. So we, around this big surface transportation reauthorization, throughout last year, we gathered a lot of feedback from around the state from stakeholders. And from that, Senator Hickenlooper has really just listened to all the stakeholder feedback and kind of come up with some priorities. We actually heard a lot about developing a national standard to measure and detect marijuana impaired driving. So that, you know, it's this passenger safety piece. We also heard a lot about, you know, the fact that passenger and vehicle collisions are on the rise. So, you know, promoting new safety standards to avoid these types of collisions where cars could have this advanced emergency braking system installed. Actually, Congressman Joe Neguse has a bill that touches on this. So really thinking about how to decrease those type of collisions and what kind of technology can be available to vehicles. And then we also want to ensure that this big surface transportation reauthorization, can I just say STR, includes expansions to the DOT Protect program. And this is all about hardening key transportation like infrastructure for natural disasters. So like in this area, think flooding and wildfire. And it would be, you know, making sure that our roads themselves are resilient to these types of natural disasters. And also making sure that we have really solid evacuation routes in place. And that's just the surface of it, surface transportation. Okay, thanks. Any questions? Okay, great.
Then we have Amy Huff online.
Did you see her text, Steve? She said she's sick.
Oh, okay.
I think she put a comment on the chat. There it is. Okay. Okay.
Okay, anyone else for the legislative update? I'm not seeing. All right, well, then we can move into our introductions and kind of circle back. I'm gonna start over here, Shash.
Yeah, sure. Shaq Powers, Region 9 Economic Development District.
Allison Barker, Region 9 Economic Development District.
Julie Constant, CDOT Region 5 Transportation.
Sarah Hill, Transportation Director for the City of Durango, and I'm helping Heather out as the Vice Chair of the TPR today.
John Harris, I'm the new Durango Public Works Director. I'm Tim Funk, the CDOT Region 5 Planner.
Tony Keaty, the CDOT Region 5 Planning and Environmental Manager.
John Musser, I'm the Deputy Maintenance Superintendent for CDOT in Southwest Colorado.
Lisa Poole with Senator Higginbotham. Barbara McLaughlin, the City Transportation Commission.
Ian Robertson, City of Cortez, City Engineer. Chris Cottrell, from Four Corn, the Clean Transportation Program Manager.
Annie Alswork, CDOT Region 5 Multimodal and Transit Liaison.
Laura Lewis, Machiner, Region 9.
Kevin Curry, CDOT Region 5 Program Engineer.
Whitney Fugel, Region 5 Local Agency Engineer.
Mandy Brown, Suddenly Tribe Transportation Authority.
James Montezuma County Natural Resources.
Right, and Shaq, since you have the list in front of you, will you call out the online attendees?
Sure. Let's see. I'll just go in the order they appear on my screen. Pete Mazel.
Pete Meisel, San Juan County Commissioner.
Michael Snow.
Yeah, good morning, folks. I'm with CDOT's Main Streets and Active Transportation Group, and I run our MMOF program.
Thank you. David Harris.
David Harris, Town Manager, Pagosa Springs.
Thank you. Andrew Milroy.
Andrew Milroy, Archuleta County's Mountain Express Transit.
Thank you. Chauncey McCarthy.
Chauncey McCarthy, Town Manager, Town of Rico.
Thank you. Krista Curtis.
Sorry, Krista Curtis. I'm with CDOT DTR.
Thank you. Eric Stasny.
Eric Stasny, Dolores County Commissioner.
Jim Candelaria.
Jim Candelaria, Montezuma County Commissioner.
Keith Dunning.
Keith Dunning, Mobility Coordinator with the City of Durango, representing Transit Council.
Kay Johnson.
Carl Johnson, Public Works Director, Town of Pagosa Springs.
Kristen Dallison.
Kristen Dallison, just a Bayfield community member.
Matt Salka.
You said my name, Matt Salko, Plata County Commissioner.
Spencer York.
Good morning, Spencer York, CDOT Planning Liaison.
Waylon Ryan.
Waylon Ryan, Town Manager of Ignacio, Colorado.
And Steve Garcher.
Good morning, everyone. Steve Garcher, just concerned citizen.
All right, and if I missed anybody, his names were hopping around on my list. Now is your time to speak up.
Heather Alvarez, Town of Mancos.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll move right into the consent agenda. Did anybody have any comments after reviewing our previous meeting minutes? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Jim Candelaria, move that we approve.
Eric Stasny, I'll second.
Okay, any opposed? Minutes are passed. And then Shaq, were there any comments on the financial report that you wanted to provide?
Nope, we're starting into a new year and
Any questions on the financial report? And I would entertain a motion to approve.
David Harris, so moved.
Heather Alvarez, second.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. That takes us to public comment. Did any of our residents attending today have any comments that they wanted to make?
I would, Kristen Dallison.
Great, go ahead, Kristen.
Thank you so much for letting me speak today. I try to keep up with all of these meetings, especially with what's been happening in the town of Bayfield with board turnover, town manager turnover, multiple employees leaving. It feels like Bayfield's just kind of dropped off of the radar, and I really don't want that to happen. So I'd really love to get some kind of update on our congressional spending towards our east intersection light, if that's possible. And just fight for that in every way, because we do have the Bayfield Commons project already in process that really needs that intersection to play out. And I'd really love to see maybe just some reach out to our new town manager to tell him how important it is that he shows up to these meetings, as well as Mr. Nyberg as the trustee representative. So the east intersection is obviously our main concern in town. I wanted to say that there are a transition from a single intersection light to two lights in the town of Bayfield will shift focus from isolated traffic control to corridor management. It's going to allow for improved safety at multiple high-risk points that we have, where we have we have an IGA with Lapata County to be able to enforce that a little bit better than we ever have been able to. And that's wonderful. But we do see a lot of wrecks at this single intersection because it's just one. If we had two, that would really help us in our safety aspect. And then at the very bottom of the list, which probably may never come to fruition, Nicole Killian put in a study to get a pedestrian crossing at our pawn shop, where we have a lot of people crossing where there is no crossing there, but people decide to illegally cross there. And just as somebody that grew up here in the 90s and saw a lot of kids unfortunately lose their lives to doing things like that, I just think that it's incredibly important that we still talk about it, and that we still make sure that if there is budget available, that we can move forward with that as well. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kristen. Appreciate it. Is anybody from Bayfield on the call?
Usually trustee Nyberg is on the call, but is not today.
I can report on the signal only from an oversight stance. I'm doing funding compliance, and we met last week. Bridget, can you go? You might need the owl. Yeah. I can just update on a project management standpoint. I don't get to make the decisions, and I'm not driving the project, but I'm doing funding compliance, and it is moving forward. I met with John and their designer and Jeremy last week, I think it was. It might have been 2 weeks ago, and they're expecting a design review submittal this month. And we're all systems moving forward. We haven't obligated the grant fund, but it's a congressionally awarded grant. Or it's not even a grant, it's congressionally awarded money. And my understanding is that money is a little bit safer than grants, because Congress voted on it, and it would likely take an act of Congress to remove it, is my understanding. CDOT has put in match funding because we are also trying to support that signal project. And everything's moving forward. It's just a slower process because there's environmental clearance and design reviews and making sure we do everything correctly. So probably doesn't feel like it's moving, but it is moving. And then the crossing study you're talking about that Nicole led, we did complete that, and there's a final report. At the time of the report, it did not warrant a crossing. There was some avenues to continue looking at different options, but at that time, Bayfield, Nicole and the council, I guess, decided to just file the report as complete and close out that project. But it would be up to Bayfield if they wanted to further look into any crossings and seek additional funding for that. We didn't necessarily say no, but the report and the study, I guess, produced results that said we couldn't exactly go forward with a crossing without further analysis, I guess, and troubleshooting. So I don't know if that helps at all.
That absolutely helps. Thank you very much. I do know that the council did talk about the pedestrian crossing and their gist of it, even though, you know, it's the town manager turnover and employee turnover that's stalling everything, unfortunately, because the town council said that, unfortunately, when you do a survey like that, people see the survey equipment and then they stop doing the illegal acts because they see the survey equipment there and they don't want to be part of a number. But if they would continue to do the things that they do regularly, the survey would pan out differently. And that's just the word from the council. And unfortunately, it takes our town manager, it takes our trustees coming to these meetings and not saying that they don't have no updates for you all and saying something much differently. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kristen. Is there anybody else that had a public comment? Okay. That will take us to reports for the stack update. Neither Heather and myself were able to attend the most recent stack meeting. So we will coordinate with Shaq to get those meeting minutes circulated to this group, in case you're interested in what those.
It was last Thursday, so those minutes aren't out yet.
And then that takes us to the Transportation Commissioner report. Commissioner McLaughlin.
Well, I did not know I was speaking today, so here we are. We've been listening hard to people in Alamosa this week. They're having some struggles. One of their citizens got in touch with me and said, we've kind of been lied to and we don't know what's going on over here. So we had a nice long talk with them yesterday, and I think we're kind of slowing down intersection work over there and kind of getting to work on helping them out with what they need. So I think they feel heard right now, I believe. And we're not sure what slipped through the cracks in there, but we're all going on the same path now. So we're making conversation. It's a surprise.
Okay, moving on to our decision and discussion items. We are at Senate Bill 2530, Transit and Active Transportation Project Inventory. And I've got Medora on here, but I'm also seeing Spencer and Annalise.
Yeah, I will be giving the presentation instead of Medora this morning.
Welcome, take it away.
Thank you. Should I just share my slides or do you guys have them?
If you want to share them, you can be in control of forwarding them yourself.
All right, let me see if I can get this. All right. Are you seeing the full slideshow or is it still, are you seeing it in slideshow mode?
Yes.
Yep, it's in presentation mode. You're good.
Okay, fabulous. Okay. All right, thank you everyone. So I'm Annalise Van Vano. I am CDOT's Bicycle and Pedestrian Program Coordinator. So I work out of headquarters in the Division of Transportation Development. And I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about SB 2530, which is our Transit and Active Transportation Project Inventory. So this is a statutory requirement. Essentially, in the last legislative session, they passed SB 2530, which requires CDOT as well as all of the MPOs in Colorado to create an inventory of transit and active transportation projects. And really the purpose of this, the purpose of the legislation is to identify gaps in transit, bicycle, and pedestrian networks throughout the state. so that we can focus on improving connectivity and safety, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and increasing travel mode choices for people walking, biking, rolling, and taking transit. And so the scope of this, according to the legislation, is pretty broad. This project inventory includes both funded as well as unfunded planned projects. It does specify that these projects should already be in existing plans, but there's no financial constraints. There's no specific time horizons required for project delivery. And really the inventory is a coordinated effort between the state as well as regional and local entities. So the legislation lays out several responsibilities for both MPOs and CDOT. So the metropolitan planning organizations have to create inventories for all of the regionally significant roadways within their boundaries, whereas CDOT has to create an inventory that focuses on state highways and CDOT maintained right-of-ways. But all of these inventories are due, they must be completed by July 1st of 2026 this year. And really our approach to creating CDOT's inventory is that we're inviting non-MPO local governments as well as transit agencies to submit their planned projects that impact the state highway network. And this includes projects from existing plans and studies. CDOT is also going to be taking a very close look at our own plans and studies and pulling out all of the active transportation and transit projects that we've already identified. And so really we're just asking local agencies to take a look at their own plans and see what is planned for CDOT facilities in your area. So the project types that we're including in this inventory. So for transit, we're looking at any projects that involve new service, which could be fixed route or on demand, extended service routes or areas, again, fixed route or on demand. Projects that would do service enhancement, such as increasing frequency of transit, expanding the hours of operation, et cetera. And also looking at transit facility improvements, whether that's stop stations, mobility hubs, other facility improvements. The project types that we are not including would include transit operations and maintenance of existing routes and service. We know this is hugely important and can often be difficult to get, but we're just not including it in this inventory. We're looking at areas to increase and improve, not just to maintain what we have. We're also not including transit maintenance facilities unless they're necessary to support service expansion. And we're also not looking at planning activities. So multimodal or transit plans are not going to be included in the inventory. And then we're also not going to be looking at data collection. For the active transportation project types, we're looking at a really wide range of walkability, bikeability, and multimodal improvements. So in walkability, you know, that project could include sidewalks, shared streets, pedestrianization, ADA accessible infrastructure, curb ramps, pedestrian signals, crossing improvements. When it comes to bikeability, anything that from this list could be included, such as various kinds of on-street bike facilities, whether that's bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, shoulders, or bike lanes with physical separation. You can also include off-street bike facilities such as multi-use paths, trails, raised bike lanes, or bike amenities such as parking. We're also looking at multimodal improvements that could include at-grade crossing improvements, bicycle and pedestrian overpasses or underpasses, shared micromobility programs, traffic calming, road diets or roadway reallocation, and first last mile programming or other improvements that could improve connectivity to transit. And the project types that we're not looking to include right now would include wayfinding, education and encouragement programs, planning projects, multimodal plans, data collection, or bicycle pedestrian count programs. So just to give you a definition of what we're considering planned projects. So we're really looking at anything that is a proposed improvement that is specified in an existing plan or study that reviews transportation needs and guides future investments, infrastructure improvements, or programming. So the plans can be city plans, county plans, our statewide plans, regional transportation planning organization plans. So they can be authored by a wide variety of entities. And this can include transportation, transit, active transportation plans, capital improvement plans, mobility elements of your comprehensive plan, NEPA documents, planning and environmental linkage studies, corridor studies, safety plans, really neighborhood plans, really any kind of plan that you have that might include active transportation and transit projects. So CDOT is looking at our own plans. So some of the plans that we're looking at internally include the Rural Transportation Planning Region's 2050 RTPs. So we're going to be looking at your full project list from your TPR plan and pulling out all the active transportation and transit projects. We're also looking at projects in CDOT's 10-year plan, our transit connection study, the bicycle and pedestrian safety studies that some of our regions have completed, as well as looking at some NEPA documents, some PELs, some corridor studies, whatever we can find within CDOT that has identified projects. So that's what we're looking at internally. And really, we're asking local governments outside of MPOs to look at their own existing plans to see what kind of projects they can pull out for us. So a little bit about the timeline and submission process. So again, this inventory has to be finalized by July 1st, 2026. So that's a pretty short timeline for us to pull all of this together. So last week we sent out emails to local governments and transit agencies located outside of MPO areas. And those emails included background information about the purpose of SB 2530, instructions on how to add detail to the active transportation and transit projects that we have identified that are already included in the TPR's 2050 Regional Transportation Plan. It also included instructions on how to submit other planned active transportation and transit projects. So again, that email went out last week. We'll be sending out a reminder email to everyone and hosting a webinar in early March. And so that webinar is for local agencies, transit agencies. If you have questions about the inventory or want more information or want to make sure that you're filling out the submission form correctly, you're welcome to join onto our webinar and ask whatever questions. There'll be a really great kind of open office hours to get some feedback. And then the project submission deadline is April 3rd. And then that time between April 3rd and July 1st is when we're going to be putting all of these projects together and finalizing the inventory. And then finally, in October, this is another requirement of the legislation, is that in October, we will have to report on the inventory as well as a financial summary to the Transportation Legislation Review Committee. So that is the timeline. And then just a little bit of the next steps and resources. So we're not asking the TPR to do anything specific. Really the ask is more for local agencies and transit agencies. So really the only thing we're asking the TPRs to do is to help us spread the word. You all should have received, the TPR should have received an email with all the same information that went out to the local agencies and transit agencies last week. And so we're just asking you to kind of forward that information on and help us spread the word and make sure we're reaching everybody. CDOT has already emailed local agencies and transit agencies outside of MPO areas. And so those local agencies and transit agencies, you're invited to submit your project list directly to CDOT. And so those list will get sent to Medora Bornhoft. And so I have her email down here at the bottom. And of course, you can reach out to either Medora or George Gromke if you have any questions about the inventory. I've also included a couple resource links to both the text of the bill itself, as well as our webpage that gives you more information and all of the information on how to submit projects, how to review the projects we've pulled out from the RTPs, and more information on the background of the bill. So I'm happy to answer any questions while I'm here on the call. But thank you for taking the time to listen to my spiel. I see David Harris has his hand up.
Yes, thank you so much for the briefing. I appreciate it, and glad to hear that we're compiling this list. Just so that we're not duplicating effort, is there already an existing site where some of the data has already been preloaded from our 10-year plan and such?
Yes, so we have created a spreadsheet that has the whole list of all the active transportation and transit projects from your TPR list. And so that went out in the emails we sent out last week. I believe we sent that information to the TPRs as well. And it's also, the information is located on our inventory webpage, which Spencer just dropped the link in the chat. So if you click that link in the chat that Spencer just dropped, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, all of the links that you need for reviewing the existing projects on your list, adding more information, since some of those, we're looking for a little bit more information than is included in the RTP list. So if you have additional information for the existing projects, please update that list and let us know. And then also the project submission form for your own local projects, that's also linked on the website as well.
Okay, yeah, and I did see the spreadsheet and really appreciate that. And a lot of detail went into that and a lot of time. So thank you. Is there any type, I guess at one point you referenced an encouragement project? What does that mean?
So the education and encouragement projects are not eligible to be on this inventory. But to define that, it would be like a program that would encourage people to walk and bike. So for example, like Winter Bike to Work Day is tomorrow. So doing a Winter Bike to Work Day station would be kind of an encouragement activity to try and get people excited about biking. But that is not something that would be eligible to be included in this project list.
Okay, I was just like, I had never heard that term before. Thank you. But one item that we've been talking about locally potentially is the need for more commuter type of transit services or links, but even across state lines into New Mexico to some of our neighbors. Is there, I know that I'm probably a big can of worms on that one, but is there those, I would presume we could add that as a potential missing link, if you will.
Yeah, so transit expansion projects are eligible. So extending your service routes, extending the service area, creating new services, enhancing service, all of those would be eligible. So I don't think we actually thought about crossing state lines, but I would say certainly whatever is within our state would be eligible to be included on the list. But I think if it goes outside of the state, if it's really important to your community, I think we can include that.
Okay.
But that's actually something we didn't foresee. So it's a great question. I'll have to ask Medora if we can actually include that or not. But
well, it would be great to find a place to put it, because I know that obviously our community, our when we look at our neighboring communities in northern New Mexico and the as well as the Hickory Apaches, boy, come to our Walmart at 8 o'clock at night, and it is packed with New Mexicans. So they're coming. So might as well make it, if there's a way to bridge that gap, I know that would be appreciated. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I would just say that if it's in an existing plan, put it on the list. If it's not in an existing plan, because right now this we're looking only at projects that are in existing plans. So if it's not already in an existing plan, probably can't submit it. But if it's already in your local or county or TPR plans, yeah, add it to the list. We'll put it on there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other questions from folks in the room or online?
Good. Thank you, Annalise.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys taking the time.
Okay, so that brings us up to reallocation of ARPA and MMOF funds. Tim.
Okay, let's see. Jack, do you want me to share?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we received news from the town of Dove Creek, maybe a month ago, that they were electing to return $250,000 of previously awarded MMOF funds. This was awarded for their Highway 491 road diet study. And as a reminder on these funds, these were originally awarded to, so these were ARPA funds, so the American Rescue Plan Act funds. A subset of those funds were refinanced by the state. And we now call those our House Bill 1466 funds, which is what these are. These were originally awarded to Paso Mesa Verde project in fiscal year 2022. Montezuma County realized they would not be able to meet the deadline to spend those funds, which is the end of this calendar year. I guess that was in 2024, I think in the fall or summer of 2024, they came to the TPR. So we reallocated the funds at that time. So yeah, as a reminder, these funds, they're ARPA funds. The work deadline to spend these funds is the end of December. The invoice deadline is January 31st. And it's CDOT's opinion, and especially with it just being $250,000, that we really just don't have time like we did in 2024. We opened that return fund up to the entire TPR for a call for projects to get those refunded or to get those funds reallocated. Given this timeline, I just don't think we have time to do that this time around, because anytime these funds, once we reallocate them this time, they'll immediately have to go to an IGA process, get those funds to projects that can spend them. And then as we heard, just this morning, it sounds like, and Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but these funds are in the general fund. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I'm sure the question on everybody's mind is that we are, simultaneously you're hearing about possible cuts and at the same time you're re-awarding. These funds are absolutely not affected, right? So these are a completely different subset of funds. They're not part of those general fund transfers that were committed in the statute or the retail delivery fees. So totally not affected for this. So you want to march ahead as planned and as recommended today.
Okay, thanks, Michael, for that clarification. So yeah, the main issue is just the work deadline. So the previous votes were related to these funds. So October 2022, there was 1.2 million awarded to Montezuma County for the Paso Mesa Verde segment C and D. In June of 2024, Montezuma County informed the TPR they would not be able to spend the funds by the deadline, and the TPR voted to accept returning the funds. Like I said last time, in July of 24, we did a call for proposals. And then in August 2024, the TPR voted to reaward the funds as follows. $250,000 went to town of Mancos for the Grand Avenue ADA project. That project's now complete. 150,000 went to the town of Rico to be incorporated into CDOT's State Highway 145 multimodal project. The 250K went to Dove Creek. Those are the funds we're talking about right now. So those funds have been returned. Two different Socoka projects. One was a bus facility expansion planning. The other was for a Class 2 transit van purchase. And then the balance went to the city of Durango for the College and Eighth project. So as far as our recommendations is to kind of, I'll go back, it's kind of to revisit the previous awardees of these funds and see if those projects, it's been a few years, most of those projects now need more money than, if they're not done, need more money than they originally asked for. So we started with by reaching out to Montezuma County, since they returned the funds originally. And it's our understanding, talking to their engineering consultant, that they can spend $63,375 in this timeframe for the following items: for utility engineering, for appraisals and cost estimates, for right-of-way acquisition, for updating their environmental documents, and some plan set modifications that would extend segment A, which is basically Cortez, and take it all the way to Phil's World. So it's got kind of a more logical terminus than it does now. The Rico CDOT project on 145, it was originally awarded $150,000. The one thing that we are currently working on and currently spending money on is survey for that project. And the survey consultant that was hired after the MMOF award, their proposal was for $163,343. So that project is basically $13,343 short. Socoka, of their two projects, the bus facility expansion planning, that project is actually going to cost much more than they initially thought to fully pay for the NEPA that needs to be done. That will hopefully get this project designed and shovel ready, and then they could go after future likely FTA grants. But $32,837 to Socoka would allow the MMOF program to fully match their FTA grant. And that FTA grant, the entirety of it is allowed to be, it's in La Plata County, so that requires a 50% match. It allows that FTA grant to be the match. And then, as with the previous votes, we figured the balance of this could go to the city of Durango's College and Eighth project. As a reminder, I think, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, that project, when it went out to bid, came back 1.9 million over.
Correct.
So the cities had to cover all of that out of their coffers. So helping that project a little bit. And that project is going to resume in the spring, and it's our understanding we'll have no problem spending the balance of the money. So this is CDOT's recommendation, is basically to just, as opposed to opening it up, is to just re-award it to the previous awardees. And we think that's probably the best case scenario to get these funds, to get them spent. Otherwise, I think we're at risk of losing them. If we do lose them, that 250 would get swept back to the general fund. So the region would lose them, and they would not be used for transportation at all. Likely. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, Tim. I know that you had some conversations with these project sponsors. No, I'm forgetting though. The RICO project is actually led by CDOT, correct?
Yeah, that's right. RICO applied MMOF funds, and then through an IGA, routed the funds back to CDOT, because we have a ADA project, and it's a 10-year plan project. It's actually in the Gunnison Valley TPR's 10-year plan project, but a big part of that project is in town of Rico.
Yeah. And what I wanted to say and was, just reiterate and remind everybody how critical it is that these funds actually get utilized by their expiration date. And that is no small feat. It's not easy to get projects like these done, especially when awards are made this late in the game. So I was just wondering, Tim, if you could share with us what did you hear from the Montezuma County and from Durango? I mean, Sarah's in the room, she can answer right to it. But what did they indicate in terms of their ability to utilize these funds in the time frame that exists?
So yeah, I've talked with the 4 projects that are listed here, and all of them believe they can spend the funds by the deadline, provided they're awarded basically now. I did in the packet, I'm not going to go through it, but just for the TPR's reference, I did include Montezuma County's consultant's proposal, so people can see that that's the number. These are and it has an outline of the costs. I also put the survey proposal for the town of for the RICO project. That's in this packet. And then lastly, the cost for to complete NEPA for the Socopa project. That's to upgrade their existing bus barn over in Bayfield. So yeah, that was kind of wanted to get some supporting documentation to give to the TPR so they knew that these numbers just weren't coming up, just out of the blue. But yeah, my understanding, and I know James was gonna hope to call in. I know he reached out this morning. Oh, James is here. All right. So I guess I could, but maybe we'll just kind of go in order, James, right? You're comfortable, you can spend that 62,000.
Yes, we're comfortable with that, and our consultants are crystal clear on that deadline.
Okay. And then, like I said, the
James,
RICO.
do you mind? Sorry, just James, does that include? So I think you have noted here that require, these funds will require some completion of environmental work and some right-of-way acquisition stuff. It looks like appraisals and estimates. So are all of those elements of the project, those have to be implemented in order to spend these dollars?
No, that's what these dollars will be spent on.
Okay, yeah, no, that's what I mean, and I'm just trying to clarify because funds get tossed together with others, and I just wanted to make sure I understood that all of these listed elements have to be completed in order to spend the 1466 funds.
All of these elements are what the 1466 funds will be spent on.
Okay.
Michael, does that?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting into the weeds a bit. This is similar to the conversations we have. Is like which phases and portions of the project actually have to be completed, versus can you spend them earlier on other phases that are underway versus the ones that might take longer. That's all. So I no need. It sounds like you kind of thought this all through already, Tim. So thanks.
And then, yeah, the 13,000 for the town of Rico CDOT project, like I said, that is a CDOT managed project. It could potentially spend more than that, but we don't, the first thing is to get survey done and then design. We know that the survey will happen this calendar year. I'm not 100% sure how much design will get done. But we wanted to just be pretty conservative and just say, all right, we know that, we have a proposal. I think the surveyor is actually already out working on this project because we've already got them started with the 150 that the project was previously awarded. So we're confident that can be spent. The Socopa one, their consultant has said, provided they get authorization to proceed by April 15th, they can complete the last task on the Socopa bus facility is the NEPA. And they have said that they can get that done provided they get notice to proceed by April, which is coming up quick, obviously. And then my understanding, Bridget's our project manager for City of Durango project. Obviously, Sarah's, if you're in the room, yeah, right. And this project's going to resume construction this spring, and so should finish before the end of the calendar year.
Just real quickly, we took advantage of the warm weather and constructed much later into the winter than normally. So I would say it's 70 or 80+% complete. No problem spending the funds and completing the project by the ARPA deadline, probably much sooner.
So our recommendation, unless there's concern, I guess I should ask, or open it up. Is there concerns from the TPR with this approach? Of
I'd-
rewarding to
I'd
existing
just like
authority?
to echo what Tim has said, administering this. If we chose to, if the TPR chose to open this 250 back up for the call for projects, the soonest you could turn your proposals in would be an April meeting. Then we'd have to put together a committee to score them. And the soonest that they could be voted on is June, which means no contracting till August, which means the soonest you could probably go to bid on a new project would be September. And that's just, the chances of you accomplishing anything by December 31st, I think, are pretty slim.
So just a quick question, assuming these get approved, would this just be a simple IGA amendment to change the number?
I think so, right, Bridget?
Yeah. And I can talk on it too. Tim and I have been working on this once we got notification that this money was gonna come available, and you know, we wanted to have a thoughtful approach of how do we distribute this money fairly without a full new call for projects. And I think Tim taking the lead on looking at that initial call back in 24, and then also being mindful that the money was Montezuma County's to start with. This proposed plan, we feel like is kind of representative of existing calls and stuff that you guys have voted on. And I oversee 2 of the 4 projects, and I am fully confident in spending that money by the 12/31 deadline for those 2, and then the CDOT led one and semi plugged in, and again, people around the town are already ready to spend that money. So I think this is a good bet. This money will get swept into the state general fund, so not even the DOT general fund, and we're just trying to do what we can to make sure that this money goes to transportation in Region 5. And this is what we figured out.
So if there are no questions from the rest of the group, I think we'll be looking for a vote of approval of this, and I would entertain a motion.
This is Heather Alvarez with the town of Memphis. I make a motion to reallocate the funds returned from Dove Creek for the projects as recommended by CDOT staff.
This is Matt. I second.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? Any opposed? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Okay, that takes us to the consideration of amending bylaws to allow for quarterly meetings.
All right, let me bring this up and share my screen. 1 second. Okay. So at the last meeting, there was a recommendation as we're coming out of working on the 2050 plan to go to quarterly meetings. Our bylaws were originally written as having the meetings bi-monthly, and they were named specifically in the bylaws. So this move would require that we amend our bylaws. Originally, when I converted this to a PDF, apparently the PDF didn't stay in a redlined edition, so I resent this out last night for everybody. But here's the red lines, adding some definition. Planning year means a calendar year in which the Southwest TPR is conducting, updating, or adopting a region-wide or CDOT required planning product that reasonably requires more frequent coordinating meetings including, by way of example, development of major update cycles related to the statewide transportation plan, STIP development milestones or other CDOT planning deliverables assigned to the TPR. Non-planning years would mean a calendar year that is not a planning year. Meeting calendar means the schedule of regular meetings for a calendar year, including dates, times, and locations, and remote access information. And then amend the section under regular meetings to read that the Southwest TPR shall hold regular meetings according to an annual meeting calendar adopted by the Southwest TPR. A default cadence, unless modified by an adopted meeting calendar. Regular meetings are expected to occur the second Thursday of the even number of months, as it originally was. Non-planning year cadence. In a non-planning year, the meeting calendar may provide for quarterly regular meetings unless otherwise adopted. Quarterly meetings are expected to occur in February, May, August, and November. And the meeting calendar for the calendar year should be adopted no later than the first regular meeting of the calendar year. And then where those will be posted, the administrator, Region 9 Economic Development District shall maintain a publicly accessible Southwest TPR page on our website that includes the current meeting calendar, meeting agendas, meeting minutes, and remote access information. And then when the meeting calendar is adopted or amended, the updated meeting calendar shall be posted to the website within a reasonable time after the vote, and the updated link shall be distributed electronically to the TPR contact list and made available to CDOT for posting on CDOT's planning website. In the event of an inconsistency among postings, the meeting calendar and meeting materials posted by Region 9 website shall serve as the official public posting location for the Southwest TPR meeting information. Meeting calendar changes. The TPR may amend the meeting calendar by a majority vote at a regular meeting or special meeting, providing that the proposed change is included on the posted agenda as an action item. When amending the meeting calendar, the motion shall identify the proposed schedule and shall identify the effective date of the change. Upon approval, the administrator, which is Region 9, shall update the posted meeting calendar and issue a notice as described in Section 3, Public Notice of Meetings. And then changes to meetings of the calendar do not limit the chair's authority to call a special meeting under Section 2. And then the date amended, which is today. So those are my recommended changes if we want to be able to pivot back and forth between quarterly and monthly. And I would say that if there is a motion to do this, that the motion would include the next cadence, which would be, and I'm lost in my own.
February, August.
Yep. So
I'm reading it that if we adopt this, we can set our cadence along with like the election of officers at the beginning of the year and not have to change the bylaws every time.
correct. We just then we'd have a simple vote, we'd post it to the website and send out the notice to everybody.
I had just one question where it said sending it to CDOT for their planning calendar. I didn't say planning calendar, but I wanted to know. I'm not sure we do that, and I'm not sure if CDOT actually posts our meetings because we used. So I don't know if I want that in there unless we can actually. Do that.
Well, we copy CDOT on everything.
Right, but to kind of, it sounds like we're having them distribute something.
Yeah, this is
Can
good.
you go back to wherever that was? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It just felt, to me, I'm thinking, how do we make sure that happens? The CDOT for posting on CDOT's planning list, I don't see. So I don't know if I want to put that over.
Yeah, I don't know that we do actually have a, have these
And I
posted
didn't
on.
catch that earlier, and sorry, Chef.
No worries.
I mean, look, I'm Googling.
We have
Spencer, you've got your hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that can be taken off. I think we keep some updates of the TPR schedule, especially during updates to the RTP. But outside of that, I don't think that needs to be in the bylaws.
Okay, I magically removed it with my.
Yeah, we catch her. We do keep like an internal, of all the TPR meetings, so people like the headquarters folks know when and where to call in, right? I don't think it's actually on our website, on ours, right? Because you guys have it on the Region 9 website where these meetings are, so it'd be redundant for us to have it on ours also.
Or then if it's not, someone's going there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, have one source of that information, and it makes sense that it's Region 9.
Fair enough. I made that change, so. And I should also save that change.
And I will add, I think the main thing that we ask of the TPRs is that the agenda and the meeting notice is posted to the website at least 24 hours before the actual meeting time. And from what I've seen thus far, you guys are doing a good job with that.
Yes, Shaq. Hey, any other discussion or questions? I would entertain a motion to approve the amendment to the bylaws with the edit that we discussed.
So moved. David Harris.
Mr. Candelaria, second.
Any discussion? Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And that brings
And
us.
I will email Heather a clean copy for signature.
Okay, great. That brings us to the election of officers, chair and vice chair.
Real quick, do we now need to decide what the schedule will be or will that be?
Once adopted or?
Right.
So February.
Yeah, but right, does it have to be, it's not, my interpretation is every February meeting, the TPR will then vote
Yeah,
on the cadence. It's an every other month cadence or a quarterly cadence.
Yeah.
Does the TPR need to go ahead and vote? I guess.
Yeah,
now?
I would amend the motion to include that.
okay. David Harris, would you accept a friendly amendment to include establishing the cadence to quarterly?
Yes.
Do we need to vote again?
Let's do it just to seal the deal.
Okay. Well, then I'll second. Any opposed? Sealed. Okay, now moving on to the election of officers. Anybody have an introduction?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So the bylaws do call for us to elect officers annually. The only two officers we have are the chair and the vice chair. They do attend the stack meetings. And the term is for 1 year. Heather has indicated a willingness to continue to serve. She's our current chair. Sarah has also indicated a willingness to either continue to serve or to give somebody else the opportunity. And I'll allow either one of them to speak on their own behalf if they'd like to.
I'll go ahead and say that, of course, I'm always willing to serve the TPR as needed. I am finding it difficult to be able to attend the monthly stack meetings, which I think is a very important role of the position. So I'd be very happy to hand over the opportunity to somebody else.
Okay, so the first vote would be for chair. Heather has said that she's willing to continue to serve, but we have to call for nominations at least 3 times from the floor. So I'm going to call once. Is there any nominations other than Heather Alvarez for chair of the Southwest TPR?
Shaq, I'm also willing to give someone else a chance to serve if they wish. If there are no volunteers, I'm happy to continue.
You guys want to just sell it more?
It's really fun.
Okay, I'm going to make a second call for nominations from the floor for chair of the Southwest TPR. Okay, I'm going to make a third call for nominations from the floor for chair of the Southwest TPR.
And we also accept self-nominations.
Yes, we do accept self-nominations. So this is your third and final chance to nominate or self-nominate. Seeing none, you need to call on a vote for chair.
Okay. And I have a vote to approve Heather Alvarez as the chair of the Southwest TPR. Did I say a vote or a motion?
You need a motion.
Can I have a motion?
Although I guess she was the only nominee, so I guess it's just a vote. I don't know. Why don't we do a motion in a second?
Okay, well, I will move to elect Heather Alvarez as the chair of the TPR. You're welcome.
Second.
Commissioner Candelaria.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, the next position will be for the office of vice chair. I'm gonna call once for a nomination from the floor. You can self-nominate for the position of vice chair to the Southwest TPR. First call. I'm gonna call twice for any nominations to vice chair for the Southwest TPR. Calling a third time for any nominations from the floor for vice chair to the Southwest TPR.
Jim Candelaria.
Jim, go ahead.
I would just move that we accept Sarah's nomination for vice chair and move that we close nominations and vote by acclamation.
Sir Chastney, I'll second.
Okay.
Motion by Commissioner Candelaria, second by Commissioner Stasny.
Any opposed?
And that's how you're voluntold.
Okay, you guys, next year. Gotta sell it.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, I will try to sell it, for next year. You know, I'm really glad that Heather and Sarah are still in their roles. They're doing a great job. Sarah's been involved for a long time now, and she really knows transportation up and down. Heather, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you learned probably quite a bit about the transportation process, and it probably helped you in your role as coordinating Mancus's transportation projects, being on the chair or being the chair of this TPR the last year. Is that correct?
It absolutely did. I have learned more in the last year about transportation than I had in the previous 18 years with the town. So I will be more than happy to step down next year and allow somebody else the opportunity. It also absolutely helped me manage CDOT projects. Small town administrators wear, you know, several hats. I am not an expert in transportation, but it did. I have learned a lot about the process and how to get things accomplished over the last year.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. I'm glad that's true.
Okay. Well, that takes us to our final CDOT reports, and I think Heather is gonna have to hop off now. Good to see you, Heather.
I apologize. I do. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you next meeting.
Thanks, Heather.
We have a construction update from Kevin.
Good morning, everyone. Bring that up on the screen.
I'm bringing it up right now.
You might want to come up towards the front so people online can actually hear you. Sorry, make move.
So wrapping up our recently completed projects for this past year. Our 550-160 connection project, you know the saying, the project's not over till the paperwork is done, and paperwork is still trickling. Trickling. So we are working on trying to wrap that up. Next project, our region, here in place culvert repairs. I talked about this last time. A couple of locations within Southwest TPR. This is not new technology for pipes, but it's fairly new. We're using it for culvert pipes, and so we were able to do this in line pipes without having to dig them up and replace them, and tear up the road. So fairly good idea. We're gonna continue that process. Last time I talked about the 550 wall and rockfall project. If you've been on Cold Bank Pass, within the last year, you'll see that we have some new structures there, and we rebuilt a retaining wall at the summit. That work was very good. We had a great contractor, and hopefully that contractor will bid on future work. 151 was one of our rural road surface treatment jobs for a portion of 151, not the entire segment. We're still working on future projects for the rest of 151, but that was completed in mid-November. Current projects goes to reconstruct. If I had known that we were not going to have a winter this year, the contractor probably would have continued full force. But we said, no, we have a winter coming. We still do have a pipe crew out there doing storm sewer work, trying to get ready for the spring. We will be reconvening in March to determine the final schedule for this coming year. But so far, the project has gone pretty well, considering that we've had to relocate or adjust every utility known. It's essentially a utility project that happens to have some concrete pavement. Upcoming projects is 160 Signals in Cortez. We did advertise that project, and it has been awarded for spring construction. This is the next round of region culvert repairs. Now, this is not the CIPP I talked about earlier. These are culverts that are in worse condition, and so it's a combination of replacements or liners. Not the CIPP liners, but actual other types of liners that we'll be doing, but we've got them spread out. The project got awarded. I think they just had the pre-construction meeting recently. So we'll be starting that up pretty soon. And that's gonna end up being a 2 years project just because of timing restrictions between environmental restrictions and irrigation requirements. So that's gonna be a 2-year project. 160 High Bridge to Elmore's out here in front of the middle of town here. That just got noticed to proceed today for the contractor. We'll be starting that in the spring. That's going to be night paving, so mostly the noise will be at night, not during the day. But we expect to get that started soon. Colorado 3, so State Highway 3, the old entrance to Durango in the old days. That's a surface treatment job that we are presently getting ready to go to add at the end of this year for construction next year. Next round of our chain stations on 491 and 160. As you know, we've been improving all of our chain station locations for the last 4 or 5 years. This is the next round. We plan to advertise this in the fall and hopefully get it started in 2027. 550 Durango to Rockwood. This is a project up north here. We had planned to do it for next year. We had to put it on the shelf for a while for other reasons. We brought it back up, and we will be advertising this in the fall for construction next year. Elmore's Corner to 225. This is our design build project. We are in the process of reviewing state letters of qualification from interested contractors, and they still plan to get out with the RFP shortly in the near future. I don't have a date yet. Is that it? That's it.
Design build on that one?
It is a design build, yes.
What, I'm just curious how your advertisements are going with contractors. Are you getting?
We have interest in this project from about 6 firms, 6 combined firms. So
And in general, the projects that we advertised last fall, early this year, we're getting multiple bidders on.
yeah,
for the
we've
ones that
actually,
are awesome.
That's a nice change.
Yeah.
yeah, and coming in under budget. Yeah.
know,
The
state.
concept.
Statewide, CDOT's seeing an average of a minimum of 4 bids per contract is what the chief engineer said when you pull public numbers together for this season, so.
Do you know why the change?
Because everybody loves this.
Well, I mean, I think the need is there. Contractors are getting hungry again. And, I don't know, the prices will come in better. I mean, our asphalt prices have actually come in lower than we expected. So.
Sarah, same for local agencies.
Okay,
So
that's
Ryder
good.
and Ray both got 3 bidders. Yeah, for their, they didn't come in on their budget.
You know, I'm thinking of Rusa.
Yeah, I didn't get. I got rebid. Good potential.
Okay, good.
Any other questions?
Kevin,
Righty then.
all right, maintenance report, John.
Sure, so what I'm gonna do once again is I'm gonna forego the presentation here and read off my list here, make it short and sweet for you guys. What we have planned in the coming months, right now we're doing a lot of crack pouring operations, the wintertime stuff in between hit and miss snowstorms here and there. We're getting a lot of crack pouring done and taking care of some of those off-season activities that need to be done. Once our surface treatment season starts ramping up, we have 2 chip seals on the docket. One is going to be up on Highway 550 from the 66 to the 70. And then the second one will be on, it's outside of this area, but on Highway 141 from the 33 to the 38. So we're going to get 2 chip seals knocked out up there. And then most notably, we also have a paving project planned on Highway 491 in the town of Dove Creek. We're going to be doing a mill and fill to start to address some of the surface imperfections there. Due to our scope limitations, we won't be able to address everything by any stretch of the imagination. But we're going to start chipping away at that, doing a mill and fill. And then we're also addressing the Dove Creek Bridge, and we'll be doing a mill and fill on that structure as well. And that will occur in the month of May. So that one is probably our top surface treatment project going into this next construction season. For next, our fiscal break is in July, of course, and we have a total of 6 chip seals and looks like another 6 paving projects on the docket for our fiscal year 27, which I'll be happy to go over those next time with you guys. So any questions, comments, any input? Fair enough. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
DTR update. I know TJ's moved on from CDOT and is now with Smart and Telluride. Is there anybody that wanted to give an update from transit?
Sweet. Obviously, transit's incorporated in the SB 25030 legislation. Any other pressing things? I don't think I have anything on that. Sorry.
So that takes us to our round robin updates, and maybe we'll just go, I can start, we'll go through the room and then hit online. Winter Bike to Work Day, Durango is celebrating on Friday. Thanks to CDOT for having a station. We have about 5 different stations all over town, so feel free to swing by, get some swag. And then we have our Camino Crossing kickoff party that night as well, Friday night. So this is an underpass design of Camino around 12th Street in Durango, and I'm just excited to get this design project earnestly underway. It's been on the books for a long time. We will be going to bid for construction of the Rusa Connect project. Hopefully any week now. We're hoping to be able to construct that this summer because I believe our grant has a deadline.
You're right, you.
Yeah, so we have a TAP grant funding that project. And then this is our new public works director for Durango. This is John Harris. So I'll hand it off to him if there's any other updates outside of the multimodal sphere.
I just want to break from what was like last month.
We're very excited to have him, and he said he's staying for the next 50 years. What else do we have in the room? Want to give an update, Jim?
Yeah, there's not much for City of Cortez, just waiting on snow that's never coming and getting projects out early, so the warm weather.
Awesome. Anything from Fort Ward?
Nothing immediately comes to mind. We'll be working with the several youth soon on a needs assessment as well as Region 9. That's upcoming, and we've got some funding for that. Online in our budget from the state.
Danny Brown, we don't have anything to report. Thank you. And then online, I'll let you just hop in if you do have an update.
So Sarah, I'll go real quick, Commissioner Candelaria. First of all, thank you and Heather for your last year and congratulations for the upcoming year. I know what kind of work it is and how difficult it can be at times. So thank you guys. I do appreciate it. Also thank you for the 63,375 for Montezuma County for the Paso Mesa Road. I do appreciate it. And I promise you we will get that spent. James Dietrich is in the room and I know that him and I have been communicating and I think he's already overspent it, but that's just a joke between us. And then the only update I really have is we just signed our access permit for our 184 County Road 25 project. So hopefully we'll get that out to add and we'll be doing that intersection with CDOT on 184. And that's all I have. Thank you all.
Yes, Matt Sokol, Potter County Commissioner. Just two updates here. County Road 524, the culvert project that we have a county road. This road is between Bayfield and Ignacio. On that county road, there was a culvert failure, and so we received the culvert pipe yesterday. Once we receive or get approved our permits for that area, that should take about 2 weeks. The other update too as well is Shauna Lagarza is our interim county manager. End of this month, she will be our permanent county manager. So it's been a long process, but we now have Shauna Lagarza as our county manager. That's all I have for La Plata.
Anybody else with an update online?
Pete Meisel, San Juan County Commissioner. We're just hoping and begging for snow. That's it.
Thanks, Pete. Andy or Eric, any updates?
No updates out of Dolores County. Just hoping for snow like San
Yeah, same here. No updates. Doing the snow dance.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I think with that, we are adjourned. See you in May.
Thanks, everyone.